Bento is the big thing at the moment in terms of website layouts. All about how you can take lots of information and compartmentalize it. Hey, go and look at Bento lunchboxes and how they kind of put things into their own individual areas to keep it all nice and tidy. And the same goes with websites as well. Now, I'm going to show you an example hero banner that you might be kind of used to seeing and how we can Benticize it. You'll be used to seeing hero banners like this where you got full page, full width and all of that, and you got your text, your headline, you got an image. You might have added in a gradient to make the text more legible to read. But because we have a really big, powerful image, we tend to do this. Or if we weren't going to do that, we might kind of have the image just as like on the left or right hand side. You're still showing the same text. You got call to action button, background colors. And a lot of hero banners do go along this style. Of course, you might have no image, you might have your word in the middle and still have your call to actions. One of the problems with these traditional layouts is, what if I want to tell you more about the person? Let's call her Susie and she works in a flower shop. What if I want to tell you about the customers, or what types of businesses they work with, homes or commercial, residential, stuff like that? You could pop the text in over here. That's pretty easy and simple to do, right? But maybe it might look a little bit convoluted or too busy. The Bento is going to allow you to do that in a much more tidier fashion. So on screen, you can see the style we're going to go for, and I'm going to create that right now. The first thing I'm going to do is add in a Flexbox container that will be a parent container. And inside of that, it's going to contain 3 child containers. And the middle container will probably contain 2 further child containers as well. Now you can do this with grid, but I'm just going to do this with Elementor Flexbox just to get you used to using Bento. So we're going to go in and add in a container, which is currently set to be a column. I'm going to change it to be a row. I'm going to get rid of the gaps so everything is zeroed out. I'm also going to change this to be a box of 1/140, which it currently is, so I'll leave it as that. I'm going to set my height to be a VH of 50. You could go with 40 or 60. You don't have to do the height. You could manage that later on as well. I'm then going to go over to my advanced tab, zero out my margin and padding, but I am going to say give me 20 on the right and left and give me 50 on the top and bottom. The reason why I like to go with 20 on the left and right is that when you do go to tablet or mobile, you've always got this 20 pixel padding on the left and right. So things are never right up against the edges. The next thing I'm going to do is go and give this a background color. Now you could, if you want, go over to your style and just go and pop in a gray color. I'm looking at this flower shop and I'm feeling like the grey colour we have here is a little bit bland. And I want to try and bring in something a bit more floristy. So I'm going to use a bit of a pink and a purple colour. So rather than using a standard colour, I'm going to go to my gradient. I'm going to pick my first colour, which will be this accent. And I'm then going to pick a purple colour like that. That is way too strong. Let's go and click the colours and I'm going to drop the opacity. And I'm going to do it for the purple one as well. So something like that. And then I'm just going to change the gradient a little bit. So into my parent container, I'm going to go and add in a child container that sits inside. I'm going to go to the advanced tab and zero that all out. I'm also going to zero out the gaps for the column and row, just so I control everything. And I'm going to go to the style tab and I'm going to give this a background color, which is white. And you can clearly see it now. The next thing I'm going to do is go and give this a border and I'm going to set it to be 25, just so we get that little curve, something that's quite traditional with Bento. You don't have to do it, but it's something we're very much used to with the curvature. I've gone for 25. You could go with 20 or something even smaller. Now you could, if you want, add in a bit of a box shadow as well, if you wanted to get a bit more of that 3D effect. I find that when you are using Bento and you're going to have lots of these side by side and above and below one another, when you add in a shadow, shadows bleed quite a bit and you sometimes get these like funny little shades appearing. So have a think about your color scheme. Now, if this was black, this was a very dark charcoal color, and this was also charcoal, and having the shadow might work well for you, but have a think and play around with it. I'm just going to get rid of that shadow effect because we don't need it. Now, staying on my very first child container, go back to your layout and set it to be a full width, okay? Even though we're going to have 3 of them in there, set it to full width. And then I'm going to go and set it to be 50% like that. What I'm now going to do is duplicate that, and I'm going to duplicate again. I'm going to go to my second one, and this time I'm going to change it to be 25. Go to the third one, and I'm now going to set that to be 25 as well. So what we now have is our basic layout. I'm going to have 3 columns or containers, 50, 25, 25. Now, before I go and work on the other two, I'm just going to start adding in my content, and I'm just going to very quick and easy copy over everything I got here. I'm not going to go through like every single styling option. I'm going to change the color. I'm going to change the style of it in terms of sizing and colors. And I'm just going to drop them into here. There you go. I've added in my text, and you can see that I have stylized them in terms of sizing to be what I want. Now, in terms of the padding for this container, it is set to be 20, 20, 20, but then 40 on the left just to move it away. The container also is set to be justified content into the middle. And I'm now going to add in 15 for the row just to add a little bit more spacing. Now, if we look at the layout at the moment, we can see that our containers are side by side. So we need to add in a little bit of breathing space. So I'm going to go to my parent container, go to the layout, and I'm now going to say set the gap for the column to be 20. Now into here, we're going to add in 2 child containers, and I'm now going to get rid of the color that we had here. So I'm going to go over and I'm just going to get rid of it. Why did I do it then? I just wanted to show you how we duplicate and add those items in. Into this child container, I'm going to drop in another container like that. So we have a child within the child or the grandchild. Let's now go and stylize that. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste the style over the child container. It's gone from being like the width to really small. Why? Well, because I've copied over from the third container. If you go over, you'll notice it still says 25. Set that to be 100, because that is 100% within the child container. And then I'm going to duplicate it. And then I'm going to go back over to the child container. And if it's not clear, I'll make it clear. I'm just going to rename these. We have our Bento parent, child 1, child 2, which is this one here, and we have child 3. And child 2 currently contains inside of there 2 more containers. Staying on child 2, we're going to go to the layout, and I'm going to set this to be a space between. Now, here's something you might not be used to doing, but you definitely want to do. I'm going to go over to my 2 grandchild containers, go to the advanced tab, and you will see a feature over here called grow. I'm going to click it. I'm going to go to the second one, and I'm going to do the same over there and set it to be grow. And can you see now how they've grown? They're like equal sized and they've grown to fill up that space. It's something a lot of people aren't aware of, and they sometimes spend time changing the height. Just go and hit the grow. What I'm then going to do is go to my second child container, go to my layout, go to my VH, and I'm basically just going to increase it to be something like 22. So I've now made one of them bigger than the other. And did you notice how they kind of, rather than like overlapping, it made one smaller and one bigger? Staying on child number 2, let's go and set our gap. So we're going to set the row gap to be 20. And when you now look at that, we've got 20 inside the middle and 20 on the left and right as well. Now let's go and add in some content. I'm going to go to the child container or grandchild container 1, go to style. We're going to drop in an image, and we'll go for the same image that we had above, which is this one. Set it to be a cover. That's looking pretty good. I mean, you could argue maybe it needs to be a little bit bigger because we are now at the top of the head. But let's just go with that for now. Before I continue, I've had a change of mind about child container 1, and I'm going to pop that back to be 20 just to make it breathe a little bit more. And inside of here, we're going to drop in a heading and a bit of text. I could, if I want, just pick up something that I've already done and paste it in. I'm then going to go over to that container that contains it and add in a bit of padding. We'll go with 20. We're going to add in a text editor into there as well. I've changed that to add a bit more about our customers. Remember, this is something we did not have in the original hero banner. We've got the same image that I had above over here, but now we're showing it there, and we've got our text still, but now we've added in a few more details. Now over here, I'm going to replicate what I've done, paste, and again, I'm going to take over the text. Again, we're just going to do our padding with 20 all the way around. I'm going to change the text, and then I'm going to drop in a image, set it to be a full resolution. I'm going to pick this image over here, and then I'm going to go to the style of it. I'm going to set the height of this to be 200, set it to be a cover. I'm going to go to my advanced tab, go to my mask, and I'm going to set the mask to be a circle. You do have other styles over here, you know, you could pick, I mean, flower could work here. I don't think that always looks very much like a flower, if I'm honest. Just looks like a plus sign, really. I've gone and added in a circle there. And then underneath, I'm now going to add in some further links. And maybe this would take you, select your flowers to a certain part of the page or another page, or, you know, it's going to act as a call to action. I'm going to add call to actions here as well. There's a bit of a trick here that I think you're really going to like. I'm going to go over and add in an icon like that. I'm going to set the icon to be framed. Why? Because I want the circle. I'm going to go to my icon library. You would obviously upload yours. That's what I recommend you do. But I'm just going to pick one from here. And I'm going to go with this arrow. Now, why did I not go for one of these? Well, here's why. If you go for this, the size of it and the border is kind of set in stone. But when you pick one of these arrows and you've gone and framed it, you now have control over the size. So look, I can make it a thinner frame. I can change the size of this and let's go for 20. I can get rid of the padding, but now I can control it and let's go for 5. I can rotate it. Let's go for 30, not 30, minus 30 looks a little bit better like that. And we can left align it. So now there's a button inside of there. Now I'm going to pretend that this button goes somewhere. Let's pretend it does, right? I'm going to copy that and I'm now going to paste it over here. So when we now look at this, the gradient is a nice background color. It has that kind of vibe. We've got the wording. Yeah, you could make that smaller. Absolutely. But I really want to make it be an impact because blossom your day. And we've got this extra bit of detail that you were not getting here. You could argue that I could have just added in the containers here and here. You could do, but would it still work as well? What about over here? Well, it might be another section below. But look at what we've done within the same hero banner. And these icons could take you somewhere. Now, maybe you want to have these icons on the same line. So what you would do is ensure that this is set to be space between. So the button is always at the bottom. But if you do space between over here, it will work. The button will be at the bottom, but you won't get the same equal spacing over here. Now, if you're not bothered by that, you can get away with it. But I just want to remind you of something that you could do where you could actually go over here, right? Set all of these to be at the top, because by doing that, it means you get the equal size between the heading and the text. You could then pop this button into another container as well. I'm not covering that. We've done that in other videos to get space between. But a neat little trick you could do is you could go to your icon, go to your advanced tab, go and set this to be an absolute, then go and set it to be at the bottom. Very, very quickly, I'm just going to go and say 20, and then I'm going to offset it by 20 as well like that. And I'm going to now copy that and I'm going to paste the style here so that your buttons are now exactly parallel with one another. And if you wanted your call to action button here to be in exactly the same line as well, you could do the same there. Just a neat little trick that you could do. We have our new Bento style hero banner. And I know there's loads more you can do with Bento. And if you go and look on the web, you're going to find some really funky designs. But this is another different way of kind of showcasing this info. I mean, look at what you have here. This is what we're kind of used to. And then we're very much used to this. And I know I've been a little bit bad in how I didn't give rounded borders and it might have looked a bit nicer with rounded borders, but you get the idea. And then you get to this. And even though I'm telling you more information, I'm not bombarding you. And if you're worried about, well, how would this look on the mobile? Don't be, because you'll adjust your size of your fonts and your margins, you know, between your items to basically show what you need to. So you still get all of your items. It doesn't look exactly the same as what you had before because now they're one below one another, but that's totally fine. You still get that nice layout. And if you don't like having the white on the gradient, why don't you swap it around with something a bit different? Isn't it cool how you get a bit of emotion and feeling when you look at this style? Bento makes things so much more exciting and it's kind of been out for ages. We've seen them in different web designs a lot, but we're starting to appreciate and understand them a whole lot more. Hey, I'm Imran Web Squadron. I hope you like, subscribe, share and follow. I'll see you soon.